Give a toddler a set of blocks and they will instantly start to stack and order them, lining up the edges and making connections between them. They might sort them by color or size. We're internally driven to see patterns. Numeracy is an innate skill inherent to humans from birth, which in turn means that the term math person that we often apply to students based on how quickly they acquire math knowledge is a total fallacy. There's no such thing as good or bad math learners. What there is instead is a shift when children enter a form of math instruction in school that often replaces the joyful play related to math with a dry set of methods, procedures, and rules, and often an emphasis on speed. This, in turn, leads many to feel disdain for math and inadequacy, or anxious as a math student, and ultimately causes the labeling of students as those who are math people and those who are not. Science tells us that the brain has incredible neuroplasticity, meaning it has the lifelong capacity to change and rewire itself. As you probably know, when learning happens, synapses fire and create new connections. Jo Boaler, professor of math education at Stanford University, gives a great analogy of these pathways as footprints in the sand. These footprints can become firm if the path is well traveled and deeply known, or without use, they just wash away. And while some students find math easier and some find it more challenging, this is not reflective of their potential to do challenging math in the future, but instead simply tells us that students have been having different experiences since childhood that caused certain synapses to fire while others did not. As teachers, it's our responsibility to disrupt the narrative that students are either good or bad at math and provide all students with a math classroom rooted in the brain science of growth. And this means we take a very intentional approach in our math classrooms. We believe that math is a conceptual subject, and it's important for students to be thinking slowly and deeply about mathematical ideas, not racing through methods that they try to memorize. This deep understanding allows those footprints in the sand to become a permanent path. Jo Boaler goes on to say, when we learn new mathematical ideas, they take up a large space in our brain as the brain works out kind of where they're going to fit and what they're going to connect with. But with time, as we move on and with our understanding, the knowledge becomes compressed and takes up a very small space. For example, for first graders, the idea of addition takes up a large space in their brain. But for adults, the idea of addition is compressed and takes up a small space. You probably agree with me that not many students think of mathematics as a real joy. And part of that reason is they're not compressing mathematical ideas in their brain. This is because the brain only compresses concepts, not methods. So if students are thinking that mathematics is a set of methods to memorize, they're not making those pathways, those deep pathways. And it's critical that we change that. When students understand the big ideas in math, that's when the depth comes, and that's when the methods and rules fall into place. Also, visualizing, playing, and investigating pave the way for open student thinking, for powerful brain connections, for engagement, and for deep understanding. Our brain wants to think visually about mathematics, yet it's often not the approach in curriculum. At North Park, we don't just show students visuals or pictures in math, but ask students to do their own visualizing and drawing. They need to gain access to mathematical ideas and methods through creativity and exploration, and the brain holds on to those concepts in a much deeper way when they do that. And finally, and most crucially, we need to tap into the understanding from neuroscience that the productive struggle and making mistakes is fundamentally important. This is when our brain grows. So it's important that the messaging at home mirrors the messaging at school related to the brain and its incredible ability to grow and change, particularly in math. Thank you.